Hi everyone, welcome to the beginning of week 2. Hope everyone had a good first week in class. I did hear from some of you with some questions. Always feel free to reach out. I'm not located on campus, so you can't find me there. I actually live in Florida, but just go ahead, email, call. I'm happy to address questions for you. I think there's also, it should be in the syllabus, I have a text number you can reach me at via text as well. So feel free to reach out whenever you might need some assistance. So what we'll do each week, actually starting in week 2, because we review the prior week, I'll post a short video going over just some, some of the things from the week before, what we have for the week to come, and then a review of the quiz from the prior week, some of the most frequently missed questions. So obviously last week was week 1. I'm just getting settled into the fall term. Our weeks do run typically from Monday through Sunday. So generally your assignments will be due on Sunday night, and hopefully you saw that in the announcements in the syllabus. But assignments are due on Sunday night with the exception of your first discussion post, be it in Flipgrid or in the classroom. That first post is due by Wednesday. At least 2 responses by Sunday, and you do need to post on 3 different days during the week to get full credit. And it needs to be a substantive post. It needs to have some meat to it, not just a hey, great post, thanks for posting here or something like that. It needs to have some substance in order to receive credit. I do post in the classroom the slides that I use when I teach this class on ground. I'm not actually teaching the on-ground version this term because I'm not in Pittsburgh anymore, so I can't teach it on ground. But when I do include the slides here just for some additional assistance with regard to the class. So obviously last week we were just getting started, kind of doing an overview of health administration, leadership and governance, those types of things. There's also a brief assignment. There's an article that you read by Atul Gawande. Hopefully you found Dr. Gawande's article interesting. It's short, so hopefully you took some time to go through it. But and then our reflection paper for last week was related to that Atul Gawande article and cultural competence, etc. I do put the majority of our assignments do go through Turnitin, and that's why you'll see it looks a little different than your other assignments. It has this circle with the little box. Make sure that when you do assignments, when you're submitting to Turnitin, that you go through the whole process. So you might go in, you'll see the first screen and it'll say it's processing, and then you need to confirm. Once it gets to the screen where you're confirming submission, you need to go through both of those steps. Sometimes I'll have students that missed one of the steps and therefore their assignment doesn't get submitted. So just make sure you're following both of those steps. Week 2, we're going to talk about strategic planning, as well as a little bit about legal policy, corporate compliance, regulatory compliance. That is my favorite topic. I came from, before teaching, I was in the healthcare industry as a compliance person, so compliance officer, compliance consultant, various activities. So it's my favorite topic. Hopefully you enjoy this week as well. We'll talk a little bit about that strategic planning process, but also a bit about law and ethics and policy as well. So you've got some videos, you've got your reading. We're using a traditional discussion board this week, so it will be written. It will not be in Flipgrid. You also have a group case study this week. I will say that I already had a question from one student about reaching out to your colleagues. You can use, so obviously your teams are listed here. If you looked at them prior to today, you may see some changes because there are a few students that left the class. So you can reach, and your screen will look a little bit different than mine, but over here on the on the left-hand side, you'll see a button that says send email. You can go in here and send email to everybody, but you can also select users. So let's say I want to send an email to Brad and to Mason and to Morgan. You can select people. Oops. There we go. I could send an email to those 3 students. So you can do that same thing to send emails to the folks in your group. You can also go into groups, and if you know what group you are, which you should be able to figure that out there right there on the screen, on the main screen for you. If you clicked assignment groups 2 and brought that over, it would send a note to everyone in your group. So those are both options for you for the group assignment. I will say that I encourage you to get started early. Obviously the assignment will be due on Sunday, but if you get started as soon as you can working on the assignment, if you have students that are not participating or don't respond to emails, all those kinds of things that are in your group, don't worry. I'm not a fan of group work in an online class myself, but it is very important that we do this type of work just for teamwork purposes, learning to deal with conflicts in a team, those types of things. So every time you do a group project in most of our classes across the health administration curriculum, you will have to do a self and peer review, and what that is this. I'll bring it up here. So you'll actually fill this out, and you can upload the saved file. You can print and handwrite if you would like, but you need to assess yourself and your work in the project, but then also your peers. So list the other members of your team and assess them in the same way. So let's say you have a group of 4 and you have one person that never responded to any email, didn't participate in the class, or didn't participate in the project, etc. If I see that across everybody's assessments, I will likely reach out to that student that didn't participate, and in most instances that participant would receive a 0 for the project. You do need to participate, and I realize some will step up and be the leader and others will follow along, but just know that if you do not participate in the project, you will likely receive a 0. That's an important aspect of the class. So we also have a quiz. We have a quiz every week, and then we have the Ed Puzzle, which is what this is here. So I'm going to hop over to the slides here for a second. I'm just going to go over, I go through the projects and through the quizzes and see what the most frequently missed questions are. So first one, which is a new trend for healthcare governance? And it was early in that first chapter where they talked about governance and what kind of some of the old trends were and what the newer trends are. So a focus on competence of individual providers, not necessarily the work of a governing board. Fiduciary and strategic responsibilities have traditionally been the work of a governing board, so that would not be a new trend. Larger boards would not be a new trend because we're actually trying to streamline and have smaller boards of trustees or governing boards now. So the one that really is significant and is a new trend in governance is being able to manage change. And if you spend any time looking at a healthcare organization or working in healthcare, you'll realize that change is the only constant. Things are constantly changing. So managing change is a real key for healthcare governance moving into the future. Next question, which of the following competencies is more leadership-oriented than management-oriented? So thinking of leadership and management, managers, and you could have a manager that is also a leader. That doesn't mean they are completely separate, but managers tend to manage people, projects, things like that. Leaders tend to be more external facing. So while they may have responsibilities to the internal stakeholders, they tend to be more external facing, building relationships with various aspects of the community in which they exist to better assist the organization to survive and leverage those contacts. So staffing personnel, supervising services, overseeing adherence to regulations, those tend to be more managerial activities, managing people and processes. Leaders, networking is really a key, and you'll find that some of the best leaders in healthcare are they're very good at networking and getting out there and getting the word out about their organization. So answer here is networking. Next one, which of the following is not a contemporary leadership model? So again, the textbook kind of divvied these things up. Situational approach to leadership is I would say a newer traditional model that the situational approach has been studied since I think the 50s or 60s, but it's certainly not a contemporary leadership model. Things about resilience, being authentic to oneself, servant leadership, those are the more contemporary leadership models. And to be honest, those are the types of models that tend to flourish in the healthcare organization. Seeing yourself as a servant leader or an authentic leader really do tend to work more effectively in the healthcare setting, and leaders that follow those approaches are usually quite successful. So that is the end of those. So that's all I've got for this week. Again, please feel free to reach out if you have questions as you're working through the activities for the week. Remember your group project, and I know the groups are a little lopsided this time, but I do assure you that everybody that is listed on the page here is still registered for the course, and we'll see how things feather out. But just be aware that there may be changes to the groups for group 5 or for week 5 as moving forward, just to make it, well, there will be changes for sure. It's a new set of groups, but I may adjust them even further for week 5 to make sure that it's an even playing field. You know, there's students that participate in everything, and then there are some students that are not participating at this point, so it's possible that we may see them drop from the class or withdraw from the class. So at this point, we'll leave the groups as they are and try and work with everyone in your group to get things rolling. But know that for our week 5 group project, we may see some differences in the groups than you see right here. So that's all I've got, and I look forward to seeing everyone in the classroom this week. And again, if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out. Okay, thanks so much.